Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and it's Friday. You know what that means. It's time to talk props. Andrew Erickson's off at a wedding somewhere. It's not a cash bar, I'm pretty sure. So hopefully we'll see him again next week. But in the meantime, we've got five-star guests here to help us through Week 5 in the NFL. See how I did that? The numerology, moving that all around. Chris Meany from FTN Bets is back again to help you get all the picks you need to cash. And my good pal from Fantasy Six Pack, one of the great minds in DFS, Chris Robin, the Detroit Beastie himself, on the Twitter machine, on the X. You can follow him there. Gentlemen, it's great to have you on the show. Chris Meany, I know you're wearing your Angel shirt today. This is a very tricky time of year for you as somebody who covers the NFL, who covers NHL, who does NBA, and it's the baseball playoffs. Does your mind just explode by the end of October, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, not getting a lot of sleep these days. So yeah, I woke up feeling like a loser. So I chucked on the Achane and Trout t-shirt, the MLB Jam. Listen, it's the funnest time to be a sports fan. Let's be honest. Like, even if you just kind of watch, you're watching the show, you definitely watch the NFL. But even if you just kind of, here and there, the NHL, NBA playoffs, postseason, as you are well aware, already alluded to, and then NBA is tipping off here in a couple weeks. So it's a fun time to be a sports fan. It is a busy time, but happy to have the invite. Double Chris dosage here today.
That's right. It's instead of between two ferns, it's between two Chris's. And Chris Robin, you are, and I will say this lovingly, a long-suffering Detroit Lions fan. How does it feel so far to be where you are, first week of October, feeling like you might be the class of this division? How do you feel right now as a Lions fan?
Yeah, this is it's outstanding. It's fantastic. Again, I'm approaching my 40th birthday, and I haven't seen the Lions do a thing. Shout out to my late father, because without my late father, I would have not, have taken on this love of the Detroit Lions. And again, they're 3-1. They're in first in the North right now, and I know Chicago won last night, and you got to deal with the Justin Fields peoples and I told you so stuff and all that. But to me, being a Detroit Lions fan isn't about the other teams. It's about what you do in your neck of the woods, on 8 Mile, on Kelly, and wherever you're.
Is that where you used to rap battle in your youth? Is that what, those days were
actually,
gone,
to
right?
be fair, Joe, that's where I was born and raised, on 8 Mile and Gratiot. But to me, being a Detroit Lions fan right now, it's spectacular. And I don't know. I hope you'll invite me back after I say this. But first off, I love when they play on Thursdays, because that means Sunday is stress free. It's like,
sure, right.
It's a free day. Anything goes. I don't have to worry about it. But when they play on Sunday, I almost can't watch the games because I get so stressed out. I get so nervous. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
In a good way, and in a bad way. And so that was the part where I don't want you to kick me off the show when I'm a Detroit Lions fan. Yet I can't even watch them play.
I think you've been conditioned, Chris Robin, after the last 40 years almost, as you were saying, to be disappointed. Yeah.
You're due for a good run.
Fair. All right,
I'm so excited on Sundays. That's what it is.
I'm glad you have something to be excited about. And if you want something to be excited about, drop a comment below, subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel, and click the bell till it goes ding for notifications, because you could win an Odell Beckham autographed Baltimore Ravens jersey. That's right, for doing nothing, for just subscribing and dropping a comment. And remember, you got to ring the bell so you know if you're the big winner. Plus, every time a piece of content drops, we got the live streams, all the podcasts are on here. Lots of fun things going on. Don't forget, every Friday, too, just on the audio side of the feed, you can subscribe there as well, because we got our DFS show. But this is where we do our main work on the YouTube channel, so join us every single week. We also do our live streams Monday and Thursday before the games. We do the Sunday live streams, help you get ready for all of your wagering. Chris Robin, start us off for Week 5.
Okay, beautiful. Let's go right to Arizona. The Arizona Cardinals have been a surprise, but then they lost, and then they surprised again, and here we go. But one constant throughout this whole thing has been this rookie wide receiver, Michael Wilson, and he's been outstanding. And when you look at the last week 2, he had 3 targets, 2 receptions. Week 3, 2 targets, 2 receptions. Week 4, 7 targets, 7 receptions, 76 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So this week on Sunday, Sunday, his over under yardage is only at 38.5 over under. And I'm smashing the over on that one. Just when you look down, obviously I have notes. I always keep notes and a pen and a piece of paper. When you look at this thing, everything has trended in the right direction over the last few weeks, 56, 86, 76. So over 38.5 yards at minus 114 is just an absolute smash spot for me. I'm not saying Arizona wins this game, but I can promise you that Michael Wilson will, in terms of my projections, catch around 4 to 5 passes and get to about 55 to 60 yards with ease. So you should be able to cash that bet, by halftime in my book.
I'll tell you what, too. This was my favorite early bet. I got it in at 5.5 on the Arizona side, and it moved all the way down to 3. I see it moving in some other spots, too. Really interesting times to be alive here. We're talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. And plus, he can get this on one play. He's been that splash play kind of guy. So it's actually more intriguing than the receptions prop for Michael Wilson. We don't know how many targets he's going to get, but you know what? He only needs 1 or 2 to really get to that 38.5. So I love that. Chris Meany, let's go over to your neck of the woods and let's start off with a big name here for the Miami Dolphins. What do you got?
Yeah, are we calling him Achane these days? I heard
Achane.
Yeah.
Devon Achane is actually what it is.
Achane.
No.
Jake Seeley, I heard you and him chop it up at FTN Network last week, and he was saying a Chandler. Of course, he had to have a friends thing into the running back, but man, he has just been spectacular. And I was waiting for his rushing yard prop to open up all week, and I was curious what it would be at. And the first place I saw at Bet365 was 50.5. Now, using the prop shop over at ftnbets.com, I see 49.5 at FanDuel and the over minus 114. He has 304 rushing yards in 2 games on 26 carries. Like, it's completely unsustainable, I think, even as good as Mike McDaniel is at being a play caller and having everybody in motion here, but he's got 4 touchdowns over that span. I saw last week more usage inside the red zone in really what was his second full game. Going up against a Giants squad, they're 22nd against the run, 27th to total DVOA defense. Miami opened up as 9-point favorites and now 12.5, 13-point favorites in some spots here. So I would expect them to be able to score some points, get pressure on Daniel Jones as the offensive line is not great, and then lean on the ground game here in the second half potentially. So New York overall has allowed the 4th most rushing yards to running backs, and we have Achane projected for 67 rushing yards over at FTN. So I think he's going to get some touches. And I do believe that this number will rise. I'd take anything over like 57.5.
Now, here's the speaking of the rising part of it, we were talking about this after yesterday's show. In case you missed it, we had Samantha Praviti on with myself and Erickson, and we were talking about after the show, we got into a conversation about ladder betting the Achane number. And basically, starting at that 50 or whatever you're getting at different places, right, which is going to be a minus number. At 60, you get plus 138. At 70, you get plus 198. At 80 plus, you get plus 280. These numbers over on FanDuel. And then Devon Achane, 90 plus at plus 390. Okay, you're getting that number. All the way to 100 over on the yards, plus 550. And what this means for those of you, this is something we did in MLB season a lot on our MLB channel. The Welsh and I would talk about this, finding those strikeout props certain nights for guys that we think are going to just blast their totals. Like one, for instance, we were on Kevin Gossman the night he had 14 Ks, and the starting number was like 6.5. So we just kept betting it all the way up. And what you do is you bet the smaller numbers. You bet the bigger number first, like the 3 units on the 50, and then you slowly go down. Exactly. So basically you go up the ladder, right? Just so everybody understands this, you go up the ladder with the numbers, but you can go down a little bit with your investment, and you might hit all of them. I mean, 2 plays, this guy could hit all of them. That's how explosive he is. So there's a really interesting opportunity here for Achane if you want to do that specific ladder bet. You can always hit me up too if you have questions about how to do that on the Twitter machine too. All right, let's go back to you, Chris Robin. What do you have week 5 in the NFL prop bet wise for number 2 on your list?
Yes, I'm going to keep it here in Detroit at Ford Field. The Detroit Lions host the Carolina Panthers on Sunday. Carolina, not so good, right? In terms, I'll just say not so good as a blanket statement, because I think that covers just about everything. There's no reason to get into DVP against certain positions. The Carolina Panthers just aren't good. And when you look at what Jared Goff has been doing as the quarterback, he's been fantastic. He's been outstanding. And the whole weight of the Detroit Lions organization is not on his shoulders. They're not asking him, to just take you to the promised land. There's other players involved here. But when you look at Jared Goff, his passing, it's over under 238.5 passing yards this weekend. And when you look at the last few weeks, right, started off pretty hot against Seattle, 323 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. Week 3, 243. In Green Bay, he had 210 passing yards. But my projection for this week against Carolina, they're not going to ask him to do too much. Give the ball to Demont. Give the ball to Gibbs a little bit. So I like the under on this one. You might have thought I was going to say, give me the over, and Jared Goff's going to go nuts and throw for 250 yards. But I think Jared Goff is not going to need to do a lot. And when you look at week 4 in Green Bay, when he only threw for 210 yards, they leaned on their offensive line and they let David Montgomery just let offensive line versus your defensive line. And that is our strong suit. That is our strong point. So Jared Goff, to me, it's kind of weird. You like the guy, and I'm saying I want to bet on him, but he's not going to be asked to do a lot. So I like the under in this one. And projection wise, I think he gets around 210 to 215 passing yards safely. He throws a touchdown, but Detroit wins this game, and Jared Goff will hit that under 238.5 yards passing, and you can get that for -114. Detroit should win this game handedly on the strength of their running backs. And again, for like the 15th time, Jared Goff isn't going to be asked to do a whole lot. So I think that is a very, very safe bet. If you're looking for, just like a cookie, like to add in another, if you got like an 8-leg parlay and you want to boost it up just add in that Jared Goff parlay. Cause to be fair, I think that one is all but a sure thing. And I know in the betting industry, when you say sure thing, people shriek. It's like,
no, but it makes sense. To me, you need Goff to be pushed for this 238 to go over. And I just don't know if the lack of aggression from that Carolina Panthers offense can do that. Chris Meany, back to you for another prop. What do you have here for week 5?
Yeah, I'm just going to stay inside the same game, and I think this kind of correlates to what Chris is saying here. I like Dave Montgomery over 70.5 rushing yards at -110 over at BetMGM. It actually opened up at 65.5. I saw that in the prop shop at PointsBet. I don't think it'll creep up too much higher than this. I mean, 69 attempts already is 4th in the NFL, and he missed 1 game. He's got 5 rushing touchdowns last week, after coming off a game where he just missed, and it being a Thursday night football game. I thought maybe he would be limited in that game, and he was not. He had 32 carries. They were up 2 scores, and they just pounded him into the ground. And I get it. Everybody wants to see more Jahmyr Gibbs. It's just not going to happen, right? Jahmyr Gibbs looks good when he has the ball in his hands, but Dave Montgomery is playing Jamal Williams' role from last year, who led the NFL in rushing touchdowns, led the NFL in red zone rushing attempts as well. They're 10-point favorites here at home. And just talking about Carolina, 26th in total DVOA, dead last versus the run, allowing 119 rushing yards per game to backs. It's the 3rd most. And offensively, they can't bring it. They're 26th in total DVOA. They're 22nd in pass, 26th in the run. Detroit can stop the run, right? They're one of the best teams in football so far in stopping the run. Miles Sanders is not 100% at the moment. Bryce Young, 4.9 yards per attempt. It's not Joe Burrow bad, but that's 33rd in the NFL, and he's only averaging 167 passing yards per game. Only Anthony Richardson is lower than that. So I would expect, like Chris said, Detroit to roll in this game and lean on David Montgomery. I think he's going to find the end zone as well. And this is one of those latter ones too. I mean, he just came off a game with over 100 yards. It's something that you can do. You talked it out beautifully, Joe. Maybe 2 units on this play, maybe a little bit higher, 100, maybe it's 125, because they showed their true hand, like coming back off that injury and giving him all of those touches in a game where they were up 2 scores late in that game. He's going to finish top 5, top 7 in terms of rushing attempts all year. At the end of the year, we're going to see that.
Yeah, I'm with you. David Montgomery, more on him later in the show, too, because we got some anytime touchdown callers. Don't want to say spoiler, but we got some fun things going on there. Speaking of fun things, don't forget about our NFL contest, too, also going on. Make sure you join that. bettingpros.com/NFL contest. It's free. You make 5 picks a week, 100 on the season, and you could win a Jackson Smith and Jigba autographed jersey. That's the grand prize. But we're also doing weekly winners, monthly winners, free upgrades to Betting Pros Premium, to Fantasy Pros Premium. We're doing swag from our BP and FP shops, hats, t-shirts, I don't know if we got slippers. I got to check and see if that's coming in or not for the holiday season. But we got a lot of cool things there. So make sure you check it out and hang out with us. Again, it's free to join. Just go to that community tab on the Betting Pros app and join the NFL contest. Or you could also just go to bettingpros.com/NFL contest. All right, Chris Robin, back to you for week 5. Give us another prop that you like this week.
Yes, let's talk about a former, or I don't know why this become like a Detroit Lions kind of show. I'm not going to talk about the Lions, but DeAndre Swift used to be a Detroit Lions running back, and he is now firmly entrenched as the Philadelphia Eagles RB1. And why the heck wouldn't he be? He's been just phenomenal when given the ball, and they've done that a ton. And when I place all my bets, I've told you this, Joe, a million times when we talk DFS, when we talk anything really, everything I do starts with Vegas numbers, over unders and things like this. And I have the Philadelphia Eagles to hang 34, 35 points. And DeAndre Swift is going to be, accountable for probably 2 or 3 of those touchdowns in that one. But when you look at it right now, his over under rushing yards is only at 65.5. And that's nuts to me, given what he's done his last 3 games. I mean, in week 2, he had 175 yards. Week 3, he had 130. Week 4, he on 14 carries, he only had 56 yards, but Philly didn't have to do much, in that game against Washington. And in week 5 against the Rams here, I have DeAndre Swift to get to 100 yards, probably 90 yards is relative where I feel comfortable, but that is well over 65.5. And you can get that one for like plus 125, something along those lines. So give me DeAndre Swift to absolutely shatter that over rush yards. And again, it sits at 65.5. And again, it is, what is it? Friday. I'm just do so much of this stuff. It is Friday. Will the line shift as much as it would have Monday? Probably not, but I would lock that DeAndre Swift line in right now as I could. And again, I have Philly to beat LA in this one. The over-under's at 50 as they play the Rams in LA. So I love DeAndre Swift over 65.5 yards. And to be fair, he could do that in 3 to 4 plays, and boom, 68 yards, 70 yards, and you've cashed.
Yeah, looks good to me. Talk about showing your hand too. You mentioned about the Detroit Lions showing us who they are. Chris Meany was just talking about that. I think the Eagles, which is your team here, Chris Meany, I think they've kind of showed us, who they are too. And I got to say, I'll take the L on this. I was concerned about DeAndre Swift, all the injuries that he's had. I didn't think he could be as good as he was, but he's been a revelation, Meany, for this Eagles team.
Yeah, he has. And it's amazing that, the first, I guess it was his second game, he had the second most carries he ever had in an NFL game. Like, he had 33 attempts, was a career high for him in Detroit, and he needed a full 10-minute overtime for him to get there. He just wasn't used that way, right? And Gibbs is playing the DeAndre Swift role from last year. They're using Swift. The offensive line opens up so many holes. Yeah, absolutely love it. I'm going to stay inside the same game for another prop. I'm going to go the other way with the quarterback here, Matthew Stafford, at over 269.5 passing yards, minus 114 at FanDuel. He is first in passing attempts. Well, I guess before the Thursday Night Football game, Sam Howell chucked the ball a bunch in the second half. But first in a passing attempts, second in passing yards. He already has 3 300-yard games. Philly last year, they were number 1 in pass DVOA defense, but with the new defensive coordinator, Sean Desai, I've seen some issues. Like, I have some issues with this secondary at the moment, at the way that they're playing defense. They've allowed 279 passing yards per game, which is the 5th most. Mac Jones hasn't done anything really all year. Hasn't looked like a great quarterback, but he tossed 316 yards against the Eagles in that week 1 game, almost came back on them and won that game. Kirk Cousins had over 300 yards. Sam Howell had 290 yards. They are struggling against bunch formations. And when there's any kind of motion, this dates back to last year. You remember the Super Bowl? Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, exact same touchdown that they scored in the Super Bowl. Curtis Samuel in motion last week. They couldn't handle it. There's miscommunication. You got Puka Nacua, who just cannot be stopped at the moment. And now it sounds like Cooper Kupp, I'm sure he's going to be limited in this game, expected back in this game this week too. So Chris already alluded to the total at 50. Stafford looks good, man. When he's healthy, he slings it all over the field. He's hitting Tutu Atwell. He's hitting Kyron Williams out of the backfield. The Eagles struggle against tight ends. Hunter Henry scored on them. TJ Hawkinson scored on them. Logan Thomas had a couple catches against them as well. So this is, I think that this is a tough spot for the Eagles defense, and this game should be highly entertaining. Taking the over in Stafford, and I would take anything as high as 280.
Yeah, I like Stafford here in this spot too. The Eagles secondary is that one thing that just hasn't quite played as well as it has year over year. There's been some holes there. Also, especially over the middles where they're weak, like you were talking about. Like that's the weak spot. You're talking about two guys in Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua that live over the middle of the field and live on these short, quick routes. That is a bad combination. I like this one a lot. It's a really intriguing other side of this game too. Let's go back to you, Chris Robin, here for another pick for Week 5. What do you have for the people?
Yes, I love Matthew Stafford. He did wonderful things while he was here in the city of Detroit, and him and his wife still do. They come back and visit, and they write checks to open centers for youth that are troubled and everything. So never a bad word to say about Matthew Stafford. But when we look at this next pick, I'm going to go to Pittsburgh. The Baltimore Ravens come into Heinz Field. These two teams just absolutely hate each other. And as it stands right now, Lamar Jackson, if you've watched him play, he's starting to heat up a little bit. And I know every once in a while, maybe on a week-to-week basis, I'll throw, just a large amount of money at one bet, at one player. And this is the one I'm going to do. And it's Lamar Jackson to find the end zone twice on the ground against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because when you look at Pittsburgh, as of right now, Pittsburgh against opposing quarterbacks, they're 19th. So they're not awful, but they're not really good. They're right in that in-between kind of thing, right? And Kenny Pickett probably will not be playing. We know Mike Tomlin is a very good head coach, and we know most head coaches, when Lamar Jackson is going to be the opposing quarterback, they're going to plan for him, and they're going to have a spy. Maybe they're going to have two spies, a linebacker or a corner, something like that. Just, this is your job. Make sure Lamar Jackson does not break the outside or find his way out of the pocket. But I think Lamar Jackson scores 2 touchdowns on the ground, and you can get that one right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook, at least. I don't know if we're allowed to use names.
You can use whatever you want. This is Betting Pros. You can use whatever you want, and of course, it's perfectly fine. Okay. In fact, tell the people exactly where to go.
Well, beautiful. So, after this show is done, I'm going to meet my guy in the alley right here on 8 Mile and Kelly. He keeps his cash in a brown paper bag, and I'm going to give him a couple $1,000 that Lamar Jackson scores 2 touchdowns on the ground, and that is at plus 750. And again, when you look at this one, this game is going to be, as you said, Chris, in terms of the Philly and the Rams game, this game is just going to be boom, 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 but with a ton of points. Baltimore and Pittsburgh is going to be boom, boom, boom. But I think it comes out where Baltimore hangs 28 to 31 points in comparison to Pittsburgh. I would be shocked if Pittsburgh gets to 20 points in this one.
Well, so I think Pittsburgh's implied total is 16.5. I think I saw yesterday.
Yeah,
that's not.
Yeah, they're depleted on offense.
They are not good.
I have it at 16.8 right now, actually, and Baltimore is at 21.3. So I just decided to say, well, you know what? I have Baltimore winning 28 to 17.
Lamar
Jackson
all the touchdowns. Why not?
Yeah, Lamar Jackson will find the end zone twice on the ground, and you can get that at plus 750. To me, that is it's a beautiful bet, because in a way, when you're sitting at home watching, it's one of those things. Every time he says hut hut hike and he gets the ball, you're going to stand up and go, okay. You know what I mean? Is this going to be it? Is he going to take off? What's his reads? What's he looking at?
And it's not like they've gotten a lot out of that backfield at the same time, and there's certainly opportunities there. And look, the Pittsburgh Steelers are just going in a bad direction. Let's go in a good direction for another pick for you, Chris Meany. Get to your 4th pick. What do you have here for the people?
Yeah, I'm going back to Philly and LA. I just think it's going to be a really fun game. And ever since A.J. Brown was freaking out on the sidelines, and he said it wasn't anything to do with not getting the ball, as him and Jalen are old buddies and these things just happen. Well, ever since that happened, 2 games. 27 targets for A.J. Brown, 18 grabs, over 300 yards. He scored twice last week as well. He's got 45 targets on the season, which is the 5th most in the NFL. He is 2nd in air yards. He's 3rd in air yard percentage, which is a free tool over at FTNfantasy.com. And he's 2nd in target percentage overall. So I know everybody wants to see Dallas Goedert. Let's get Dallas Goedert involved. I'm sure that's going to happen over time. He's a really good tight end. But Jalen Hurts really throws to two guys. It is A.J. Brown and it is Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith is at 4.5, but it's a touch juiced. It's like minus 145. Maybe you put that into like a little bit of a parlay. But A.J. Brown's at 5.5, and it's minus 105 at BetMGM. So I just feel like he's going to continue to get a lot of looks. And as we said a couple times, this is a fun, fantasy-friendly game. And A.J. over 5.5 grabs is one of my favorite bets this week.
All right, we got one more for each of the boys. And of course, we've got the anytime touchdown score. Just a reminder too, really quick, everybody, don't forget, make sure you download the Betting Pros app, set those game notifications to on as well, so you get the line alerts on the BP side too, and use the prop bet cheat sheet. Like, you want to be using the tools that we give you here. Prop bet cheat sheet takes all the amazing work from Fantasy Pros, all those projections, finds the best lines for you, finds the best opportunity to bet them at the differential over and under, and it's literally cheating. It's literally handing you the script for the week and saying, here are the best ways to invest your money, and it's all right there for every single game, for every single prop. So please go check out, if you haven't already, the prop bet cheat sheet on bettingpros.com, but download the app. You can find it there as well. All right, Chris Robin, give us one more for week 5.
All right, I'll keep this quick, right? When we watched the New York Jets play against Kansas City, we all thought it was going to be a slaughter. I did my single game DFS video, and I did it. I gave the final score first, and I told the story in a weird backwards way because I thought no one would care to watch the video because it was going to be Kansas City by 100, but it wasn't. And why didn't it not happen that way? Zach Wilson actually looked okay. Is Zach Wilson taking the next step here? I know it's a little too, one game is way too early to say Zach Wilson is going to return on all the draft capital that the Jets have placed in him. But when you look at this week, the Jets are playing in Denver, and Denver's been the team you pick on, right? Miami scored 70 on them, and all this kind of stuff. But I like Zach Wilson, his passing yardage right now. It's over under 210 passing yards. And I think if what we saw when he played Kansas City is any indication of what he can do in the next game and the next game further, I think he will smash this thing. I have Zach Wilson, 19 to 20 completions for about 240 total yards. So give me that over 210 passing yards, and you can get that at plus money because it still seems that Zach Wilson is like he's like nuclear. And everybody wants to rip on him, make fun of him, kind of like Justin Fields before yesterday's game.
Hey, look, I bet the under 170.5 because I didn't think he was going to make it out of that game, and he had his best game he's ever had. So, like, that's the NFL, right? The Bears got to win last night. Crazy times. If
so I'm going to run with Zach Wilson this man week
on the channel talked about that yesterday on the live stream, that the best value on the board was betting the Bears money line. And Scott Bogman said I was crazy. He said I was crazy.
Baby, let's go.
Not
DJ Moore anymore. Too. Are you kidding me?
I wish
DJ Moore.
What I told Bogman yesterday was this, Meaty. I said, the Washington Commanders haven't proven to me yet that they can play down and above their competition. You know what I mean? Like those teams that you'll get up to play the Eagles, but the next week when you have a slam dunk at home and a short week against the Bears, you fumble the ball. Prove to me you're not that team. Because the first week against Arizona, they looked like that team that plays down. They looked like that team that you can't trust. And I told him, I was like, this whole 5.5, it's nonsense. Like, I don't know. It just had this weird feeling. And then had I known about the unfortunate passing of Dick Butkus too, there was something in the air last night too for the Chicago Bears.
Absolutely.
I would have been heavily on that one. All right, let's get one more. We're heavily on. Give me your last one, meaning you got for week 5, and then we'll get to the anytime touchdown scores.
Yeah, DJ Moore hit the prop in the first drive, and obviously his ceiling is really high. I mean, this is a guy who has the 7th most receiving yards among wide receivers over the last 4 or 5 years. He's never had the touchdowns. Now he's 2 touchdowns away from matching his career high. He's on pace for 1,800 yards, which would shatter the 1,100 he had in 2020. High ceiling. This guy here that I'm going to talk about doesn't have the same sort of ceiling. It's a very small floor. It's Wan'Dale Robinson over 3.5 catches. And I understand it's the Giants, and oh my goodness, they're an absolute mess. And every time you watch, Jones is on his butt and teams are running all over them. I can't really trust a lot of people in this offense. I understand Saquon. It looks like he's going to return. Maybe that'll help them. I mean, it should help them a little bit. But Darren Waller, there's no separation for some of these guys. There's no time really for Daniel Jones to throw the football. Darius Slayton's got a high ADOT. He's targeted deep down the field. Wan'Dale Robinson's not. It's like a short, easy completion for Daniel Jones. 2 games, 11 targets, 9 grabs, only 61 yards. His receiving yard prop is 30.5. I would have a lean to the over on that, but I'm just taking the over 3.5 catches at Bet365 is -110. The 7 targets and 4.5 grabs is what we have for him in our projections. And again, this is a heavy dog here, almost 2 touchdown dogs. They will have to throw in the second half and do whatever they can to make this not be an absolute blowout. So Wan'Dale Robinson over 3.5 catches, -110.
All right, let's call some touchdowns, boys. First, Chris Robin. Give us a guy who's going to find the end zone. Who knows? Maybe even more than once.
Exactly. And I want to preface this by saying I'm Chris. He's Chris. He mentioned David Montgomery in his first prop, and I had David Montgomery listed as my can't miss, going to find the end zone, anytime touchdown kind of thing. And 1 touchdown, if he scores once, you can get that at -125. If he scores twice, which I think he does, you can get that at +310. But like a professional, Joe, I can pivot on the fly. So I also like Isaiah Pacheco to score for Kansas City. They're playing Minnesota, and Minnesota won last week, but I still think they're frauds. No offense to Vikings fans, but Kansas City is going to mop the floor with them. And give me Isaiah Pacheco to find the end zone, not once, but twice. So in a weird kind of way, I'm going to make a parlay as soon as we're done with this broadcast that Montgomery finds the end zone twice and Pacheco finds the end zone twice. And I'd imagine, $10 on that kind of action would probably net me $100,000, and I can close up shop and I'll move into the mountains and I'll see you guys later.
There you go. As long as that guy from the back alley's not chasing you for whatever you owe him. All right, Chris Meany, give us your anytime touchdown score. What do you have for Week 5?
Chris stole it from me since I stole Montgomery. Like Isaiah Pacheco was my guy. Yeah, +118 for a touchdown over at FanDuel. I'll just kind of piggyback and add a little bit more. Just 14 red zone rushing attempts is the 6th most. 7 inside the 10 is the 8th most. And he didn't play any preseason games because he had the shoulder injury. We've really seen the usage uptick. 8 carries in Week 1, 12, 15, 20 last week, over 100 yards. And he's catching balls out of the backfield as well. It's something we didn't see as a rookie. Like, this was just a undrafted 6th or maybe 6th round rookie running back who had to, not that CEH was great, but had to overtake CEH, sure. Had to overtake Jerick McKinnon. And now here in year 2, very familiar with the playbook, Andy Reid and what he does with running backs. He is certainly the lead. I don't know if this was a Bieniemy thing with Jerick McKinnon, but he is not getting the same type of usage. 10 catches on 12 targets already. Pacheco had 13 catches last season, and 10 of those 13 came in his final 7 games. He went on to catch 6 in 3 playoff games. He's out there running routes. He's getting a lot of the usage inside the red zone, which is nice. So I'll just add another one. 14.5 receiving yard prop. He's hit this in 3 of his last 4 games. So high total game. Minnesota leads the NFL in turnovers with 11. Could put them in good situations. Kansas City to score some points, maybe inside the red zone as well. If there's another one, I would go with Devon Achane. He is -120 to score a touchdown as well. And he's got 4 in 2 games. So it'd be silly not to, dabble into what he's been doing.
Yeah, there you have it, everybody. Great stuff from all the Chris's here. Don't forget, we want to hear from you. What are the prop bets you like? Drop them in the comments below here. Subscribe to the channel, click the bell, ring it till it goes ding, and you just might win an Odell Beckham jersey if you do. And make sure you also follow us, obviously, on all the social media platforms at Betting Pros. Don't forget to do that as well. Great stuff, gentlemen. Great to talk some football. Good luck, everybody. Prop bet in Week 5. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For everyone named Chris, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.